The man everyone laughed at. I had spent 8 years helping build the company beside my wife, Victoria Hayes. I believed every late night, every sacrifice, and every difficult decision had strengthened both our business and our marriage. I walked into our annual leadership conference expecting another celebration of what we had built together. Instead, I walked into the day that shattered everything I thought I knew. Victoria stepped onto the stage with effortless confidence. The ballroom erupted into applause while executives, investors, and department heads watched her with admiration. She smiled at the audience. I couldn't have brought Hayes Innovations this far without an incredible team. Everyone clapped. I smiled quietly from my seat. She continued, "Every successful leader also needs people who remind them what failure looks like." The room chuckled. I frowned, unsure where she was going. Then she looked directly at me. "My husband, Adrian, is the perfect example." The laughter grew louder. She folded her arms. "Some people think he helped build this company." More laughter. "The truth." She paused dramatically. "Is nothing more than a useless husband living on my success." The room exploded. Some executives laughed openly. Several investors exchanged amused looks. Even employees I had personally mentored couldn't hide their smiles. I remained frozen. Victoria wasn't finished. I kept him around because every successful woman deserves a charity project. More laughter. "You know what's impressive?" She shrugged. "He actually believes he's important." Someone near the front whistled. Another person clapped. I felt every pair of eyes land on me. My throat tightened. I wanted to leave. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I forced myself to stay seated. If I walked away, they would laugh even harder. Victoria looked satisfied. "Let's continue with the real leadership presentation." The audience applauded. For the next hour, I barely heard a single word. Every slide blurred together. Every laugh echoed inside my head. When the conference finally ended, people avoided looking directly at me. Others offered fake sympathy. One executive approached. "Tough speech." I looked at him. "You thought it was funny." He shrugged. "I didn't write it." Then he walked away. Another manager stopped beside me. "You'll recover." Recover from what? Being publicly buried. He smiled awkwardly before leaving. I stood alone beside the empty stage. I expected better. The voice came from behind me. I turned. An elderly man slowly approached with the help of a polished wooden cane. His silver hair matched his calm expression. "I don't believe we've met," I said. He extended his hand. "Daniel Brooks." I shook it. "The board member." He nodded. "I rarely attend these events." "I'm surprised you stayed after that." "I stayed because I wanted to speak with you." I stared at him. "Why?" He smiled gently. "I've been watching you for years." "I don't understand." "I've watched board meetings." He pointed toward the stage. "I've watched strategy sessions." He looked directly into my eyes. "I've watched everyone take credit for work you quietly completed." I blinked. "You noticed." "I notice more than people realize." I laughed bitterly. "My wife certainly doesn't." Daniel shook his head. "Respect and gratitude are different things." "What do you mean?" "I respect your work." He paused. "Your wife stopped appreciating it long ago." His words hurt because they felt true. "I don't know why she hates me." "I never said she hates you." "Then why humiliate me like that?" Daniel sighed. "Power changes people." "That can't be the whole answer." "No. What else?" "Sometimes success convinces people they no longer need those who helped them reach it." Silence settled between us. Finally, I asked, "Why are you telling me this?" "Because everyone else is lying to you. And you're not." "I have nothing to gain." He reached into his jacket and handed me a business card. My personal number. I accepted it. "If you ever need someone willing to tell you uncomfortable truths, call me." "Why would you help me?" He smiled. "Because dignity deserves allies." He slowly walked away. I remained standing there, holding the card. Those 4 words echoed inside my mind. Dignity deserves allies. Outside the hotel, the evening air felt colder than usual. My phone buzzed. "Ethan." I answered immediately. "Where are you?" "I'm outside." "I'm coming." Less than a minute later, my best friend pushed through the revolving doors. He looked furious. I heard everything. I figured. He shook his head. I wanted to drag you out of there. I couldn't leave. I know. He placed a hand on my shoulder. You didn't deserve that. I looked away. Maybe I wasn't enough. Don't. I'm serious. No. He stepped in front of me. I've watched you sacrifice weekends, holidays, and sleep for that company. I still wasn't enough. For her. He sighed. Maybe. For the company. He pointed toward the building. You practically built half of it. I smiled weakly. Funny. Nobody inside believes that. They will. You sound confident. I am. Before I could answer, another familiar voice interrupted us. Adrian. I turned. Grace Miller approached carrying several folders. She was the company's legal advisor. Her expression wasn't sympathetic. It was concerned. I've been looking for you. What happened? She glanced around carefully. Not hey. Ethan crossed his arms. You can trust me. I know. Grace lowered her voice. I just reviewed several documents. What documents? I can't discuss details yet. My stomach tightened. Is something wrong? She hesitated. I think something has been hidden from you. What kind of something? I need proof first. Grace. She looked directly at me. Promise me one thing. What? Don't sign anything Victoria gives you. My heartbeat quickened. What are you talking about? I'll explain when I can. You're scaring me. I'd rather scare you today than watch you regret tomorrow. She handed me her card. If anyone pressures you, call me first. Then she walked away. Ethan stayed after her. That didn't sound good. No. What are you going to do? I honestly don't know. As we reached the parking garage, I noticed someone standing beside the elevators. Noah Reed, our quiet finance director. He usually avoided conversations. Tonight he watched me with an expression I couldn't read. When our eyes met, he quickly looked away. I walked toward him. Noah. He hesitated. Congratulations. I frowned. For what? You survived today. I don't feel like I did. He glanced toward the elevator cameras before speaking. Be careful. About what? He swallowed. Things aren't what they seem. I've heard that twice tonight. He nodded. There's a reason. What reason? He looked genuinely nervous. I can't say. Why not? They are watching. Who's watching? The elevator doors opened. Noah stepped inside. Before the doors closed, he quietly said, Trust the people who warned you. The doors slid shut. I stood motionless. Daniel had warned me. Grace had warned me. Now Noah had done the same. 3 different people. 3 different conversations. The same message. Something was happening behind closed doors, and I was the last person who knew about it. I climbed into my car and rested both hands on the steering wheel. Only hours earlier, I believe my greatest problem was surviving public humiliation. Now I couldn't escape the feeling that humiliation had only been the opening move. Whatever waited ahead was far bigger than a broken marriage, and for the first time in 8 years, I realized I no longer knew the woman I had trusted with my life. I woke before sunrise, hoping the previous week's humiliation had been nothing more than a nightmare. The silence beside me told another story. Victoria had already left without saying a word. I stared at the empty side of the bed for a moment before forcing myself to get ready for work. Deep down, I still believed we could fix whatever had broken between us. By the end of that day, that hope would begin to die. The moment I walked into the office, my assistant stood up nervously. I'm sorry. For what? They told me not to let you into the executive meeting. I created today's presentation. I know. Who gave the order? She lowered her eyes. Mrs. Hayes. I took a slow breath. I'll speak to her myself. You won't be allowed upstairs. I don't need permission to enter my own meeting. I walked toward the elevator, but security stepped in front of me. I'm sorry, sir. You know me. Yes. Then move. We were instructed not to let you onto the executive floor. By Victoria. They exchanged uncomfortable looks. I asked a question. Yes. I laughed bitterly. So now my own company requires permission from my wife. Neither guard answered. I turned around before my anger exploded. Half the employees pretended not to watch me. The other half couldn't stop staring. My phone vibrated. Ethan, where are you? In the lobby. I'll be there. A minute later, he walked toward me. I heard what happened. The whole building probably has. He shook his head. This isn't business anymore. I know. She's isolating you. I noticed. That's exactly what she wants. I leaned against the wall. I'm starting to wonder if everyone believes her. I don't. You've always been my friend. I'm also telling you the truth. What truth? People remember who built this company. Then why is nobody saying anything? They are afraid. Afraid of Victoria. They're afraid of losing their jobs. I nodded slowly. I never imagined fear could spread this fast. It always does. I returned to my office only to discover half my project files were gone. I called my department manager. Where are the development reports? They've been reassigned. By whom? Mrs. Hayes. Without informing me. I'm sorry. What project am I leading now? There was a long silence. None. The call ended. I sat quietly, staring at an empty desk that had once been covered with plans, contracts, and ideas. Another knock interrupted me. Grace stepped inside and quietly closed the door. We can't talk long. What happened? She placed a sealed envelope in front of me. Don't open it, hey. What's inside? Copies. Copies of what? Financial records. I frowned. Why give them to me? Because they may disappear. What do they show? I haven't confirmed everything. You sound worried. I am. She leaned closer. Several transactions don't make sense. What kind of transactions? Money moving between accounts without proper approval. Who approved them? I don't know yet. You think someone's stealing from the company. I think someone's hiding something. Victoria. I don't have proof. What about the board? They're asking questions. Has Daniel said anything? He hasn't attended the last 2 meetings. I remembered his warning. Dignity deserves allies. Grace looked at me carefully. What? Nothing. She stood. If anyone asks, we never met. Before leaving, she quietly added, trust your instincts. After work, I found Noah reviewing reports alone in the finance department. He looked surprised to see me. You shouldn't be here. Why? Too many cameras. I only need one answer. I may not have it. Have company records been altered? He looked toward the hallway before speaking. Someone has been changing numbers for months. Who? I can't prove it. But you suspect someone. Yes. Tell me. He swallowed. If I accuse the wrong person, my career ends. If you stay silent, the company could collapse. I know. So help me. He rubbed his forehead. Executive authorizations keep appearing after meetings. Fake approvals. I didn't say that. You didn't deny it. No. Who benefits? I don't know. You do. He looked into my eyes. I know enough to be scared. I left more confused than ever. That evening I arrived home hoping Victoria might finally talk to me like my wife instead of my enemy. She barely looked up from her laptop. You're late. I stayed at work. You don't have much work anymore. Her words landed like another slap. We need to talk. I'm busy. Our marriage is falling apart. She sighed impatiently. Must everything become dramatic? I'm asking for 5 minutes. I don't have them. When did you stop respecting me? She closed the laptop. When did you stop being useful? I stared at her. Is that really how you see me? You become deadweight. I spent 8 years building your company. Our company. She smiled coldly. You keep telling yourself that. She walked upstairs before I could answer. Hours later, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs for a glass of water. Then I heard her voice coming from the study. The door was slightly open. She hadn't noticed me. No. She laughed softly. He still believes this is temporary. A pause followed. I started replacing him months ago. My heart stopped. Another pause. The conference only made it official. I gripped the wall. No, he suspects nothing. She laughed again. By the time he understands, the board won't even remember his name. Silence filled the hallway. Every warning suddenly fit together. Daniel, Grace, Noah, even Ethan, they had all tried to prepare me. I finally understood why. This was never an emotional outburst. It had been a carefully planned removal. I quietly stepped away before she could discover me. As I stood alone in the darkness, the pain inside me slowly changed. The broken husband disappeared. Someone stronger took his place. I was no longer fighting to save my marriage. I was fighting to expose betrayal, protect the company I had helped build, and survive a corporate game where I had unknowingly become the easiest target. I barely slept after overhearing Victoria's phone call. By sunrise, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. If I confronted her without evidence, she would destroy me before I spoke my second sentence. I needed answers, not anger. The first person I called was Daniel. Can you meet? I've been expecting your call. You knew I'd find out. I knew the truth couldn't stay hidden forever. Where are you? My office. I'll be there. When I arrived, Daniel closed the door himself. You look different. I finally stopped making excuses for her. He nodded approvingly. Good. I need the whole truth. You've earned it. He opened an old leather folder and slid several documents across the desk. Read the first page. I frowned. This is dated years ago. It was signed by the company's founder. I continued reading before looking back up. What is this emergency succession agreement? It was created to protect the company. From what? Corrupt leadership. I stayed at him. I've never heard of this. You weren't supposed to. Why? Because it only becomes active under extraordinary circumstances. Like now. He folded his hands. Possibly. I looked at the signatures. The founder trusted the board that much. He trusted very few people. Then why create this? He believed power eventually changes someone. And if it did, the board could remove that leader without destroying the company. I leaned back silently. Victoria doesn't know this exists. No. Why keep it secret from her? Because secrecy was its protection. I looked at Daniel carefully. Why are you showing me now? Because you're finally asking the right questions. I shook my head. I still don't understand something. What? Why me? He smiled. You think you've been invisible. Haven't I? No. He pointed toward the documents. For years, several directors have quietly watched you. Watch me do what? Lead. I wasn't the CEO. You never needed the title. I only solved problems. Exactly. I remained silent. You listened before speaking. He continued calmly. You accepted responsibility. You treated employees with respect. You stayed calm during crises. He smiled again. Those qualities matter. So the board noticed. They admired them. Even while Victoria ignored them. Especially then. His words settled heavily inside me. You mean I'm not alone? You never were. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Ethan, I should answer. Daniel nodded. Ethan, where are you? With Daniel. Good. Why? I've got someone who wants to meet you. Who? An investigative journalist. I frowned. Why would I talk to the media? Because she's investigating suspicious corporate activity. My company. Yes. What's her name? Olivia Bennett. I've heard of her. You should. Can she be trusted? I believe so. Daniel quietly interrupted. Meet her. I returned to the call. Set it up. That afternoon, Ethan introduced us inside a quiet cafe. Olivia offered a fame handshake. Thank you for coming. I almost didn't. I expected that. She opened a notebook. I'm not here to publish gossip. Then why are you here? I've spent 6 months investigating executive misconduct at Hayes Innovations, among other companies. What makes mine special? She looked directly at me. Too many financial irregularities. I exchanged a glance with Ethan. What have you found? Not enough. Then why contact me? Because every trail eventually leads toward your executive team. My wife. I'm not accusing anyone. But I'm following evidence. I remained cautious. What do you need from me? The truth. I don't even know all of it. Then start with what you know. I told her about the conference, the missing meetings, Grace's warning, Noah's concerns, Victoria's late-night phone call. Olivia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she closed the notebook. You've just confirmed several missing pieces. What happens now? I keep investigating. You won't publish anything. Not until I can prove every word. I appreciated that answer. I won't help destroy innocent people. I wouldn't ask you to. As we stood to leave, Olivia quietly added, "Be careful." I've heard that a lot lately. Then start listening. The following morning, my assistant entered my office looking nervous. Someone's here. Who? Mr. Richard Hayes. I froze. My father-in-law. She nodded. I'll send him in. Richard entered wearing an expensive suit and complete confidence. He didn't bother shaking my hand. We need to talk. I agree. He sat without invitation. I'll make this simple. I'm listening. My daughter says you've become emotional. I almost laughed. That's an interesting description. You've embarrassed her. I embarrassed her. Don't raise your voice. I haven't. He leaned forward. Victoria deserves stability. So do I. You should step aside. For what reason? The company needs unity. I helped build it. You worked for it. I sacrificed everything. My daughter carried the vision. I looked directly into his eyes. Did she tell you she planned to replace me months ago? His expression barely changed. You misunderstand her. I heard the phone call. Silence filled the room. Finally he spoke. Business requires difficult decisions. This isn't business. It is now. You protected her for years. I'm her father, so you'd excuse anything. I protect my family. I stood. So do I. He slowly rose. Be careful. Is that a threat? It's advice. He walked toward the door before stopping. You still have time to leave quietly. I answered without hesitation. I'm done leaving quietly. After he left, Ethan entered through the connecting office. I saw him. So did everyone else. How did it go? He wants me gone. No surprise. He thinks I should surrender. What do you think? I looked out the window. I've spent weeks asking how to save my marriage. And now I'm asking how to save the company. He smiled. That's the man I remember. Later that evening, Grace arrived carrying another folder. I found something. What? Board communications. Good or bad? Interesting. She handed me several printed emails. I scanned them quickly. They are questioning Victoria. More than questioning. I looked closer. They've lost confidence. Several directors believe she's making reckless decisions. Does she know? Not yet. I slowly closed the folder. So Daniel was telling the truth. He rarely says anything he can't support. I sat quietly. Everything was changing. The husband inside me still wanted explanations. The leader inside me wanted evidence. The husband wanted forgiveness. The leader demanded accountability. For the first time, those two voices weren't equal. One had finally become stronger. I looked at Grace. If I expose everything today, what happens? She'll deny it. If I wait, you'll have proof nobody can escape. I nodded slowly. My decision's made. No confrontation. Not yet. No accusations. Not until every document speaks for itself. Grace smiled faintly. That's exactly why people believe in you. After she left, I sat alone inside my office long after sunset. Every conversation from the past few days replayed through my mind. Daniel's confidence, Ethan's loyalty, Grace's warnings, Noah's fear, Olivia's investigation, Richard's pressure. Each conversation revealed another hidden piece of the same puzzle. I finally understood something I had refused to believe for years. Leadership wasn't about holding the highest title. It was about owning trust when nobody was watching. Victoria believed authority made her untouchable. I no longer believed that. Every lie eventually demands payment. When that bill finally arrived, I intended to make Satan nobody responsible found a way to escape it. I arrived at headquarters before sunrise after receiving Daniel's message. It contained only 6 words. Emergency board meeting. Be prepared for everything. I stood outside the boardroom, took one slow breath, and reminded myself that panic would only help the people who wanted me defeated. When the doors finally opened, every director was already seated. Victoria walked in confidently without looking at me once. She smiled as though the meeting belonged to her. "Let's begin," she said. The chairman nodded. "We will." Victoria stood immediately. "I'll make this brief." Nobody interrupted. "Our company needs stable leadership." She glanced toward me. "Unfortunately, my husband has become a distraction." Several executives avoided my eyes. She continued. "For the good of the company, I recommend his immediate termination." Silence followed. Victoria smiled confidently. "I've already prepared the paperwork." She placed a folder on the table. "This will officially remove him from every executive responsibility." I looked at Daniel. He remained completely calm. The chairman folded his hands. "Mrs. Hayes." "Yes." "Please return to your seat." She frowned slightly. "I haven't finished." "You have." Confusion crossed her face. Daniel slowly stood. "Mr. Chairman, with your permission." "You have it." He carried another folder toward the center of the table. "I believe this meeting should begin with evidence." Victoria laughed softly. "Evidence of what?" Daniel looked directly at her. "Financial manipulation." Her smile weakened. "Excuse me." "Abuse of executive authority." She folded her arms. "This is ridiculous." And deliberate attempt to silence honest employees. The room became perfectly still. Victoria pointed toward him. "These accusations are absurd." Daniel calmly opened the folder. "I prefer documents over arguments." He handed copies to every director. Victoria looked toward Richard. Her father remained expressionless. Daniel spoke again. "Every document has been independently verified." Victoria shook her head. "They are fabricated." Grace stood. "They are not." Every eye turned toward her. "I personally verified every legal authorization." Victoria laughed nervously. "Grace, surely you're joking." "I'm not. You work for this company. I work for the law first." Grace opened another file. Several executive approvals violated corporate governance requirements. Victoria interrupted. "Technical mistakes happen." Grace answered immediately, repeatedly. "Yes. Intentionally." Victoria's voice became sharper. "You can't prove intent." Grace looked toward Noah. "I believe he can." Noah slowly stood. His hands trembled slightly. "I reviewed every financial record." Victoria stared at him. "Noah." He swallowed. "Several accounting entries were altered after official approval." "You're mistaken." "I'm not." "You misunderstood the reports." "I prepared the reports." Silence filled the room. Noah continued. "Unauthorized transfers appeared months before anyone questioned them." Victoria shook her head. "Impossible. I checked them 3 times." She looked around desperately. "Someone else changed them." Daniel answered quietly. "The access logs disagree." The chairman looked toward Victoria. "Would you like to respond?" She stood abruptly. "Yes." She pointed toward me. "This is his revenge." I remained silent. She continued. "He convinced everyone to attack me." Daniel replied calmly. "No." Grace added. "The documents convinced us." Victoria slammed both hands onto the table. "I built this company." I finally spoke. "We built it." She ignored me. "They are jealous." No director answered. "They are lying." Again, silence. Richard suddenly stood. "This meeting has gone far enough." The chairman remained calm. "Please sit down." "I won't." "You will." Richard's voice hardened. "My family invested millions. And we appreciate that. You cannot remove my daughter." The chairman looked directly at him. "The board alone decides executive leadership." Richard stepped closer. "You will regret humiliating my family." Daniel answered before anyone else. "Threats won't change evidence." Richard glared at him. "You've always opposed us." Daniel smiled faintly. "I've always protected this company." Victoria looked around desperately. "Someone say something." No one moved. Several executives who had once applauded her now studied the documents in complete silence. The chairman finally spoke. "There's one final matter." Daniel handed him another envelope. The chairman opened it carefully. I believe every director recognizes this document. Several members nodded immediately. Victoria frowned. What is that? The chairman looked directly at her. The emergency succession agreement. Her expression changed instantly. No, he continued reading. Established by the founder to protect the company during extraordinary circumstances. She shook her head. That agreement isn't valid. Daniel answered quietly. It has always been valid. Richard interrupted. This is outrageous. The chairman ignored him. The required conditions have now been satisfied. Victoria stared at every face around the table. You can't do this. The chairman continued. The board will now vote. Nobody spoke. One by one, directors raised their hands. The first, the second, the third, then another, then another. I stopped counting. Victoria looked frozen. No. The chairman finished counting. The motion passes. She whispered. No. He looked directly at her. Effective immediately, you are removed as Chief Executive Officer. The room remained completely silent. Victoria slowly turned toward me. You planned this. I shook my head. You planned your own downfall. Her eyes filled with disbelief. You were supposed to leave. I almost did. She laughed bitterly. You always needed me. I answered quietly. I believed that once. The chairman stood again. There is one final vote. Nobody moved. In accordance with the succession agreement and today's unanimous recommendation, the board appoints Adrian as the new Chief Executive Officer. For a moment I couldn't breathe. The words echoed through the room. I looked toward Daniel. He smiled proudly. Grace nodded. Noah finally relaxed. Ethan, watching from the back as an invited observer, quietly gave me a reassuring smile. The chairman extended his hand. Congratulations. I hesitated. I never wanted this way. I know. I accepted his handshake. The executives who had laughed during the conference slowly stood. None of them applauded. None of them smiled. None could even meet my eyes. The silence carried far more weight than their laughter ever had. Victoria suddenly gathered her papers. This isn't over. Grace answered calmly. Legally, it is. Richard stepped beside his daughter. We'll fight this. Daniel closed the final folder. You're welcome to try. They walked toward the door. Before leaving, Victoria stopped. She looked directly at me. You'll regret this. I answered honestly. I regret trusting you. She said nothing else. The door closed behind them. For several long seconds, nobody spoke. The chairman finally broke the silence. The company needs leadership. I nodded slowly. It also needs healing. Daniel smiled. That's why you're sitting here. I looked around the boardroom. Only days earlier, I had entered that same building feeling unwanted, humiliated, and powerless. Now every director looked to me for direction. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel proud. I felt the enormous weight of responsibility settling onto my shoulders. The battle inside the boardroom had ended. The battle outside it had only begun. Employees would have questions. Investors would demand answers. Reporters would search for headlines. Victoria would almost certainly refuse to disappear quietly. I stood, looked at every director, and spoke from the heart. I won't lead through fear. The room remained silent. I won't ask for loyalty. Several directors nodded. I'll earn it. Daniel smiled again. At that moment, I realized something unexpected. Power had never been the reward. Trust was. And unlike power, trust could never be taken by force. It could only be earned, protected, and proven every single day. The morning after the board meeting felt strangely quiet until I reached company headquarters. Dozens of reporters waited outside the entrance. Cameras pointed toward every executive walking through the doors. Flashing lights followed me as questions flew from every direction. Becoming Chief Executive Officer had changed my title overnight, but it had not removed the pain that still followed me wherever I went. Mr. Hayes, did Victoria commit fraud? Will criminal charges be filed? Did the board know everything? I stopped briefly. The company will cooperate with every legal investigation. Did your marriage influence the board's decision? My personal life won't affect my responsibility to this company. Any comment about Victoria? I hope the truth speaks louder than opinions. I walked inside before another question reached me. Grace was already waiting. You handled that well. I didn't feel confident. You sounded honest. I only answered what I knew. She smiled. That's exactly what people need. Before I reached my office, Ethan caught up with me. Congratulations. I've already heard that too many times. Still doesn't feel real. No. He laughed softly. Good. Why good? Because people who become comfortable with power usually misuse it. I never wanted power. I know. You wanted respect. I nodded quietly. That mattered more. The following afternoon, Olivia requested another meeting. When she entered my office, she placed several printed articles onto my desk. My investigation is complete. I looked at the headlines. They published everything. Only what we could prove. What happened? Former employees finally spoke. Voluntarily. They realized they weren't alone anymore. I slowly read another article. This mentions Richard. His financial influence reached further than expected. He'll deny everything. He already has. And evidence doesn't disappear because someone refuses to accept it. I looked at Olivia. Thank you. I didn't do it for you. I know. I did it because companies shouldn't reward corruption. I respected that answer. Later that week, I gathered every employee inside the main auditorium. Hundreds of faces looked toward me. Some were hopeful. Others remained uncertain. I stepped to the microphone. I won't pretend the last few weeks never happened. Silence filled the room. You deserve honesty. Several employees nodded. We made mistakes. I corrected myself immediately. Leadership made mistakes. The room remained quiet. Some of you stayed silent because you were afraid. Nobody argued. I understand. A woman raised her hand. Will people lose their jobs? Only for dishonesty. What about those who spoke up? They'll never be punished for telling the truth. Another employee stood. Can we trust management again? I answered honestly. You shouldn't trust promises. He frowned slightly. Then what should we trust? My actions. Applause slowly spread through the room. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just sincere. That mattered more. Over the next several weeks, difficult decisions filled every day. Grace entered my office carrying another folder. 3 executives resigned. Voluntarily. They're hoping cooperation reduces legal consequences. I sighed. I expected that. What should we do? Accept the resignations. No negotiations. No. She nodded. I'll prepare everything. Noah knocked shortly afterward. I finished another audit. What did you find? The financial damage is significant. Can we recover? Yes. How long? If we stay disciplined, sooner than most people expect. I smiled. Thank you. You trusted me. You earned it. His shoulders relaxed. I've never enjoyed coming to work until now. His words stayed with me long after he left. One evening, I returned home to collect the last of my belongings. Victoria was waiting in the living room. I hoped you'd come. I only need my files. Please. I stopped. 5 minutes. She nodded. I've made terrible mistakes. I remained silent. I was afraid. Of what? Losing everything. You already had everything. I didn't believe that. She looked exhausted. I thought power was the only thing protecting me. So you destroyed everyone who threatened it. I never wanted to hurt you. I couldn't hide my disbelief. You humiliated me publicly. Tears filled her eyes. I know. You erased my work. I know. You planned my replacement months before that conference. She lowered her head. I know. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she whispered, "Can you forgive me?" I answered carefully. Forgiveness and trust aren't the same. I'll do anything. I believe you. Hope appeared in her eyes. But nothing you do can return the man I was before all this happened. She quietly cried. I miss us. So do I. Can we start over? I looked around the house that once felt like home. I can't build a future by pretending the past never happened. She closed her eyes. I deserve that. I picked up my box. I'm sorry. She didn't answer. As I reached the front door, she softly said, I really did love you. Without turning around, I replied, I wish love had been enough. Outside, I sat inside my car for several minutes before driving away. The victory I had imagined for so long felt strangely empty. The company was healing. My heart wasn't. The next morning, Ethan joined me for coffee before work. You look tired. I am. You saw Victoria. Yes. How'd it go? She apologized. Did it help? I don't know. He stirred his coffee. Can I ask something? Of course. What did you think revenge would feel like? I thought for a moment. Satisfying. And it isn't. He smiled gently. Good. I looked at him. Why does everyone keep saying that? Because revenge changes people. I wanted justice. That's different. I almost forgot. He leaned forward. Real victory isn't destroying your enemies. What is it? Refusing to become like them. His words echoed inside me. I've been carrying anger every day. I know. I don't want it anymore. Then stop feeding it. I don't know how. You already started. How? You chose responsibility instead of humiliation. I smiled faintly. You always know what to say. I just remind you who you've always been. That afternoon, I stood inside my office overlooking the city. Only weeks earlier, I had believed becoming CEO would solve everything. I had been wrong. Success repaired financial damage. It restored trust. It protected employees. It secured the company's future. But promotions couldn't erase betrayal. Titles couldn't repair broken memories. Money couldn't replace peace. I finally understood that achievement without inner peace was another kind of failure. The company would recover because people chose honesty over fear. Whether I recovered depended entirely on the choices I made from that day forward. For the first time since my life began falling apart, I stopped measuring success by power, wealth, or recognition. Instead, I measured it by something far more difficult to earn: the ability to look into the mirror every morning and respect the man looking back at me. Several months passed faster than I expected. The company no longer operated through fear or silence. Honest conversations replaced whispered rumors, and every department focused on solutions instead of survival. Revenue reached record levels, employee satisfaction climbed higher than ever, and investors regained complete confidence. Every success reminded me that leadership built on respect always lasted longer than leadership built on intimidation. Yet the greatest change had nothing to do with business. It had happened inside me. One morning, Ethan walked into my office carrying 2 coffee cups. I brought your favorite. You've been doing that a lot lately. Successful CEOs forget breakfast. I laughed. I haven't forgotten. You've just been working. He handed me the coffee. I heard the quarterly numbers. They surprised even me. You earned them. We all did. He smiled. Listen to yourself. What? You stopped saying I every time the company succeeds. I learned leadership isn't about collecting credit. He nodded proudly. I knew you'd figure it out. Before we finished talking, Grace entered carrying another report. I've got good news. I like the sound of that. The Employee Trust Survey. How bad? She laughed softly. Not bad. She handed me the results. 94% confidence in leadership. I looked at her. Seriously. Highest in company history. I shook my head. I never imagined that. You created it. No. She smiled. You created the environment. I looked around my office. I only asked people to tell the truth. Exactly. Later that afternoon, Noah knocked gently. Do you have a minute? Always. He placed several financial summaries on my desk. We've completed every recovery target. Already. 3 months ahead of schedule. I smiled. Congratulations. He looked confused. To me. Yes. You rebuilt the finance department. I only did my job. You finally received the chance to do it honestly. His expression softened. I've waited years to hear someone say that. You earned every bit of this. He quietly thanked me before leaving. Watching him walk away reminded me how many talented people had once been trapped beneath fear. Now they were finally free to succeed. A week later, Olivia requested another interview. She arrived carrying the first printed copy of a newest publication. I thought you should see this first. I read the cover headline. Truth restores trust. I looked up. You chose that title. I did. Why? Because this story isn't about scandal anymore. What is it about? She smiled. Recovery. I turned another page. You mentioned every employee who came forward. They deserved recognition. You didn't make me the hero. You weren't. I raised an eyebrow. Really? The people who chose honesty were. I closed the magazine. I appreciate that. She stood. So do your employees. Days later, the board organized a small celebration for another successful quarter. Daniel stood beside me holding a glass of sparkling water. I've decided. About what? I'm retiring. I smiled sadly. I was hoping you'd stay. My work is finished. It doesn't feel that way. He looked across the room. It does to me. I remained quiet. You don't need me anymore. I'll always need your advice. You'll always have it. He placed one hand on my shoulder. When I first met you, you were searching for someone else's approval. I remember. What are you searching for now? Peace. He smiled proudly. Then you've already become the leader this company needed. I hugged him without saying another word. The following Monday, my assistant called unexpectedly. Someone is waiting downstairs. Who? Victoria. I closed my eyes briefly. I'll meet her. She stood alone in the lobby. For the first time since everything ended, neither of us spoke immediately. Finally, she broke the silence. You look happy. I feel peaceful. She nodded slowly. I've missed talking to you. I know. I've spent months thinking. So have I. She looked directly into my eyes. I came to ask one final question. I'm listening. Can we try again? The words hung between us. I remembered the conference stage, the laughter, the humiliation, the loneliness. Then I looked at the woman standing before me. She seemed genuinely sorry, but something inside me had changed forever. I forgive you. Hope filled her face. But I can't go back. Her smile faded. Not because I hate you. I understand. It's because I finally respect myself. Tears gathered in her eyes. I wish I'd understood that sooner. So do I. She took a slow breath. I destroyed the best thing in my life. I believe you know that now. I'm sorry. I know. She hesitated. Thank you. For what? For refusing to become cruel. I smiled gently. I almost did. But you didn't. No. She nodded. Goodbye. Goodbye, Victoria. I watched her walk away without looking back. Strangely, I felt no anger, no satisfaction, only closure. That chapter of my life had finally ended. Later that evening, Ethan joined me inside my office. How'd it go? I forgave her. And I let her go. He smiled. That's harder than revenge. I know. Worth it. Absolutely. He raised his coffee cup. To peace. I raised mine. To peace. After he left, I stood alone beside the large windows overlooking the city skyline. The lights below stretched farther than I could see. I thought about Daniel believing in me before I believed in myself. I thought about Ethan refusing to let me surrender. I thought about Grace protecting the truth. I thought about Noah choosing honesty despite fear. I thought about Olivia telling the story without sacrificing integrity. Then I remembered the broken man who had stood silently while hundreds of people laughed at him. I quietly thanked that version of myself for refusing to quit. Without his pain, I would never have discovered my strength. The board had not simply handed me a company. They had trusted me with an opportunity far greater than a title. They had given me the chance to become the man I had always been capable of becoming. As I looked across the city one final time, I realized success had never been about proving my worth to someone else. Real success began the moment I understood my self-respect could never depend on another person's approval. That truth became the greatest victory of my life, and unlike every title, fortune, or achievement, nobody could ever take it away from me again.